I want to take you back to week 1 with this man right here, Brian Callahan, when his Tennessee Titans went up against the Denver Broncos. It's the end of the first half. The Broncos don't have all their timeouts, and you've got the ball back with practically no time left in the first half, down by your own end zone. Conventional wisdom says that you run the ball. If you get a first down, then you can try running your offense and being aggressive if you want. But until you get a first down, you don't do that, because you don't want to give the ball back to the Broncos, and you want to be the last team to touch the football. Of course, Callahan doesn't do that, and he decides to be stupidly aggressive for some reason, throwing the ball, stopping the clock, and giving the ball right back to Denver with great field position, where they promptly scored a touchdown on a possession that they never should have gotten. The Broncos took the lead and held on and won the game. It was all thanks to Callahan's stupidity, which you can learn more about by clicking the card in the upper right corner. And I thought after that insane decision that it would be impossible for him to manage the end of the half any worse. Seriously, I thought that was the pinnacle. But I have to give Callahan some credit in hindsight for that Broncos game. I can't believe I'm actually defending him and defending his decision-making because it was really freaking stupid. But at least, to his credit, he had a plan. It was a dumb plan, it was an idiotic plan, it was a game-changing plan in the worst way possible, and it was a plan that made no sense, but it was a plan. He wanted to be aggressive, even if it was stupidly aggressive, and by God, he was aggressive. Because what's the only thing worse as a head coach than having a really dumb plan? How about having literally no plan whatsoever?
Yards. They go to Pollard again, and Pollard barrels his way toward the marker, and he might just be short, and a timeout called.
All right, so it's week 3 against the Colts, and the Colts take their timeout, bringing up 4th and 1. Smart timeout on Indy's end so that you're forced to make a decision on what to do, as you either try to make a 57-yard field goal or yet 1 yard. Personally, I think the decision is obvious here. You leave the offense on the field, and you go for it. The odds of getting a yard are higher than the odds of getting a 57-yard field goal. And if you miss the kick, the Colts get it back with better field position, while if you make the kick, you're giving it back to Indy with a chance for them to drive down the field quickly with multiple timeouts. If you go for it only needing a yard, you can make sure that you touch the ball last in the half, and either get a touchdown, since you have your entire arsenal of timeouts available, and time shouldn't be an issue because of that, or get a more makeable field goal with the clock nearing triple zeros. This should be an easy go-for-it spot, but seeing as you just got stuffed on your last run, I can understand the decision to trust your kicker and just kick it now. Either way, you've got to make a decision, and with the Colts calling timeout, you've got plenty of time to do it. But Brian Callahan understands my line of thinking and decides to leave his offense out there for this 4th and 1. He sends Cam Ward out there to convert the 4th down play, and the Titans are going to try and extend this drive. And
Cam Ward's looking over to the sideline.
Yeah, he's taking his time. They're 1 for 2 on 4th downs this year, and they use a timeout.
Okay, you burn a timeout to think things over. Funny, I thought the Colts already did that for you. How do you not have your mind made up on what to do? How does it take you this long to make a decision? Now, you only have 2 timeouts left, so that's fewer plays you have available at your disposal if you get this 4th down. All because you had to call a timeout for no reason at all. But, okay. Extra time to make sure your rookie quarterback and inexperienced offense are on the same page. Whatever. Now let's see what the Titans have lined up on this play that's seemingly taking 10 hours to get off. And holy crap, you're sending the field goal unit out there? Halfway through the play clock? You still don't know what you want to do after 2 timeouts? Now, you're going to have to rush this field goal because the play clock's winding down. And
the Colts are ready for it.
Yeah, Hecker has 16 completions.
Delay of game.
Oh,
On the
man.
offense, that's a 5-yard.
a delay of game. A freaking delay of game penalty after not 1, but 2 timeouts in a row. I'm at a loss for words. I don't know what to say. You know what? Just play the clip. Just play the freaking clip.
Yarder from the near hash mark. Good snap, good hole. Kick is on its way, and it was deflected. It's going to be off to the left.
Yeah, we knew that was going to happen. Welcome to Dumb Decisions. Before we break down what happened here, this whole series is about taking an in-depth look at decisions made during games that were clearly awful from the start. This isn't something look bad in hindsight. Rather, this is something look awful almost immediately. These are moves where your gut instinct tells you right away that there is no way this can possibly work. And sure enough, your gut instinct was smarter than that of an NFL head coach. And for this one, we're going to take a look at the mind of Tennessee Titans head coach Brian Callahan. How is this man still employed? Seriously, how is this man still employed? He's been on Dumb Decisions 3 times now in 3 weeks. And I'm not even trying to find content on him to nitpick or scapegoat or anything like that. He has genuinely been that stupid and that clueless on the sideline. The Titans are 0-3 to start the year off, and they look like the worst team in football. Their coach, as evidenced by the Week 1 game against the Broncos with the 9 challenge, doesn't know the rules and is more willing to fight reporters than actually read the playbook. You can learn more about that by clicking the card in the upper right corner. The team has appeared flat, with multiple players on the Colts even outright saying prior to their game on Sunday that they knew they had this win in the bag because the Titans weren't doing anything in warm-ups. Their coach is 3-17 through 20 games. I'm saying this without any recency bias whatsoever. Their coach is in the discussion at this point for being one of the worst coaches in NFL history. There's levels to this, and he won't be the worst just by virtue of not being Urban Meyer or having a winless season. But he's in that second tier. The man can't do anything right. And the Titans are wasting a year of Cam Ward's rookie contract to employ this moron who has no idea what being a coach entails. So with that being said, let's take a look at why calling a timeout, then taking a delay of game, then trying a 62-yard field goal is a really bad idea, especially when your guy missed from 64 yards earlier in the game. I don't care that the kick missed. I don't care that the Colts got a short field and then scored as a result, basically putting the game on ice before the halftime break. I don't care about any of that. Sly could have made the kick, or the Titans could have gone for it on 4th and 6, or the Colts could have gotten nothing, and this would still be a dumb decision. The number one responsibility of a head coach, bar none, is to make decisions. Yes, there are other responsibilities and things that coaches need to be aware of. But when you're the leader of an organization, especially a football team, you have to make decisions. There are some decisions that are good, and there are some decisions that are bad. This series is literally called Dumb Decisions, and it talks about the things that coaches should not do and the things that coaches should be aware of, yet are not for some reason. But this, I'm not even sure if this qualifies as a dumb decision. Because, you see, to make a dumb decision, you actually have to, make a decision. And Brian Callahan didn't make a decision. He just stood there menacingly and had no idea what to do. You should be thinking the entire time that you're on this drive what your game plan is. What's the target line for a field goal? Where are we going for it? How much time has to be on the clock for us to kick versus go for it? This is basic stuff that you learn when you pick up a single game of Madden. And this is 2-minute drill fundamentals that you go over during training camp in July. This is second nature. Usually, you have to make these decisions in a split second. But you didn't even have to do that here. You gotta have more time to think it over because the Colts took a timeout after they got the stop on 3rd down, which, by the way, was the right call to call a timeout. So instead of having 3 seconds to determine what you wanted to do, you had about a minute. That is an eternity in this sport. The play clock doesn't even go that high. Having a minute to decide what you want to do is like a golfer having 10 minutes to read the green. And your decision was to make no decision and burn another timeout, giving you about another minute to decide. And yet, after over 2 minutes, and after having an eternity to decide what you wanted to do, you still had no clue and trotted the field goal unit out there, midway through the play clock running out after the offense was on the field when the play clock started to run. May I remind you that in week 1, on the opposite end of the spectrum, the Chiefs were able to run a fire drill field goal with about 10 seconds left and were able to make that split-second decision in the blink of an eye. And on this end of the spectrum, you've got the Titans who can't make a decision no matter how much time you give them. This is like Patrick at the Krusty Krab when Squidward asks what he wants, and he responds by saying this, despite being at the restaurant before, and despite him being able to look at the menu before reaching the front of the line.
We'll check in with these two later.
That is Brian Callahan. That is Brian freaking Callahan. That is the man you've been watching this entire time. If you kick the field goal from 57 yards out, great. If you go for it on 4th and 1, great. But by doing this, and by being the most indecisive person to ever walk the face of the earth, you either give your offense a much tougher conversion and take away the option to run the ball, making life tougher for Cam Ward, or you make the field goal significantly longer, with a difference between 57 yards and 62 yards being substantial. You also, in the event that this doesn't work out, make things easier for the Colts, because they have a shorter field to work with to either get a touchdown or get a shorter, easier field goal. So good job, Coach Callahan. In debating between going for it on 4th and 1 or trying a 57-yard field goal, you created a third option that didn't exist for every other coach in the NFL and created an option where you'd be screwed either way. But screw it. Let's hear what Callahan himself had to say about this bizarre sequence.
You know, it's a hindsight thing. If you go for it and get it, great. If you go for it and don't, you know, then you're in the same spot. And thought we had a chance to get points there. You know, Sly's been really reliable from deep. He's a bit of a weapon for us, and he's been that way thus far in this season. And then we wanted to kick it, and they were waiting for some operational things to uncover, and you know, just like to go faster. It obviously had no intention to take a delay game there. Didn't want that to happen. Obviously, it looks really bad at the end of the day, and that was not the intention to do that. So wanted to be able to kick it.
Huh. For a guy who wanted to take the points and seemed pretty decisive in that, and for a guy who made it pretty clear based off of that answer that this wasn't much of a decision, why did it take you 2 timeouts and a delay of game penalty to come to that conclusion? I don't want to hear any of this K-ball wasn't ready nonsense. If I'm to decide between pizza and Chinese food for dinner, I plan on eating at 6. I'm so indecisive that I only decide I want pizza at 7:55. I get to the pizza place at 8:10, and they're closed at 8, and I come back and say that this is unfair, and I always wanted pizza the whole night. That's a complete lie. If I say it's hindsight bias, that dinner didn't work out, and I had no way of knowing that the pizza place would be closed by the time I got there, that's a lie. And for Callahan to stand up there and say that everything about this is hindsight bias, when you didn't even make a freaking decision, and when you pushed your field goal kicker back from a makeable 57-yard try to a much harder 62-yard try when he missed from 64 earlier in the game, and not closely, I might add, because you had no idea what you wanted to do? It's insane to me. Absolutely insane. I don't know why this clown is still employed. I can't think of not one good reason why he still has a job. I'm a Jaguars fan. I hate the Titans. And I even have some pity for them at this point and their fan base. How can any player trust him when he openly admits that he has no idea what the rules are? How can any player trust him when he openly admits to not knowing what decisions to make and has no idea how to think quickly? His players have to make split-second decisions on who to cover and what routes to run and which holes to run through, yet he doesn't have to make decisions on anything despite having more than 2 decades to decide? What do you do as a head coach if you can't make decisions? What do you do here? This man is completely clueless at what he does. He is undoubtedly, right now, the worst coach in football. There is no close second. There are other guys that stink, but no one stinks more than he does. And the sooner the Titans realize that, the better. Even though I won't be complaining as a Jaguars fan and won't be shedding any tears when the Titans finally move on from this fraud. If he somehow survives until the end of the 2025 season, you gotta drug test the Titans owners and the front office at this point, because this is absolutely ridiculous. So what do we learn from all of this? If you can't make decisions, you shouldn't be a coach. There's really nothing more to say. There really isn't. There's nothing else to talk about in terms of the merits of going for it versus kicking the field goal and the pros and the cons of the two options, because I'm not even sure Callahan knew what the two options were. If you're living your life as if your controller froze, you shouldn't be a coach. If you need hours to decide on something and still can't come to a conclusion, you shouldn't be a coach. And if you're 3-17 in your 20 games in charge and only getting worse and getting combative with the media and don't know the rules and don't know how to make decisions and don't know how to act on the sidelines and don't know how to do anything, then it's time to give it up. Because when all these elements are in play, you can't exactly be surprised when this play backfires. Talk about a dumb decision. Check out our live streaming schedule for the next few days. We're live every single day on this channel, whether we're covering a sporting event or playing GeoGuessr or just taking your requests. So make sure you like and subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss a single time that we go live and so that you can join this community. Also, thanks to all our members and our Patreon supporters who get exclusive perks like their name at the end of each video, members-only Q&A streams, and cool emojis to use on videos and during streams. See how you can join this community and become a member or a Patreon member by clicking the link in the description below.